All right, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Coach Michael Burt. Tuesday morning, 7:41. I'm here in Watercolor, Florida, about to head back to Nashville, Tennessee, to the Greatness Factory. And got up this morning thinking about one thing, a shift in an attitude. And people always ask me a lot of questions like, Coach, how do you keep a good attitude? You know, how do you... And I was telling my wife last night, I said, back in the old days, I don't remember it being this hard. I don't remember waking up every day and always dealing with people who had bad attitudes. And I said, maybe I just forgot it, or maybe it just slipped my mind, or maybe we weren't helping a lot of people. And I said, you know, the more people we help, the more people who I see as a coach, and I'd say I'm qualified to talk about this after coaching for 33 years, the more people I see who have a bad attitude. And I want you to step back for a second, and I want you to think, because there's days we all wake up and we have a bad attitude. And an attitude is a posture of the body, which is represented by a physical state. But if you broaden the scope and talk about attitude, there's an attitude toward people. There's an attitude toward opportunity. There's an attitude toward adversity. There's an attitude toward prospects and selling. There's an attitude toward your team members. There's an attitude toward your family. There's an attitude toward money. Like when you really step back and say, what causes people to have a bad attitude? It's one thing, Bonnie Huntsman. It's when people do not get what they want. And when they don't get what they want, they show their attitude. And so I would step back and evaluate this just a little bit. Like when you don't get what you want, what is your attitude and posture? Do you dig in and try to find a way to win? Do you work the muscle harder? Do you use that to activate the prey drive inside of you? Or do you take the path of whining, complaining, victim, which is where somebody did something to you? And so when you think about it, Michael Dodgen, people always ask me why I played certain players when I was a basketball coach. And there were clearly more talented players sometimes than other players. And it's like, well, you don't see them practice, man. You don't see them in the weight room. You don't see the attitude they bring to the locker room. You don't see, right? Attitude is a posture of the body. It is dynamic and attractive. It is static, or it is entropic. Okay? So it is dynamic. That means it's attractive to other people. It is static, which means plateaued. It's really not doing anything. Or it's entropic, which means it's heading in the wrong direction. And an airplane has an attitude indicator, which tells you, is the airplane ascending, has it plateaued, or is it descending? So sometimes as a coach, I got to say, man, check yourself. You got a bad attitude. And there's times in my life I've had a bad attitude. So what do I do when I have a bad attitude? First, we used to have T-shirts that said we recognize, we admit, we learn, and we forget. We recognize first, awareness. We admit it to the team. Man, I had a bad attitude today. Didn't bring my A game. Got my feelings hurt, right? We recognize it and we admit it publicly. Okay? We then learn from it. I ain't doing that again, man. Whatever triggered that, I'm not doing that. And then I move on. I recognize, I admit, I learn, and then I move on. And if I say it's not going to happen again, it don't ever happen again. So there's a lot of bad attitude people out there, folks. And probably I'm talking to you, and probably you will be offended that I'm actually talking to you this morning. But if you're offended, then why are you watching my stuff, right? I see bad attitudes every single freaking day. And guess what? It's always the people who are suffering. It's always the people who are behind. It's always the people who can't pay their bills. It's always the people who struggle. Those are always the people who have bad attitudes. Now, put those two together. As we used to say, put that in your pipe and smoke it. You guys have a great day and have a good attitude. I'm Coach Burt.